Good morning or good afternoon when this video reaches you from Yummy B TV. Sending loads of love to you all as usual and hoping your day is going the best it possibly can. The weather keeps chopping and changing out there. Now this one's an important one this morning, right? Because in the comments yesterday, I saw some people said that it's hard to read sometimes when people comment because you don't actually know in what way they are asking the question. But the one that set off this topic this morning was saying that did Paul Venice idolise Lee Duffy? We speak about who I believe was probably the only person that Lenny Maclean idolised, right? We also look at tonyA, Build a Bomb, and we look at when we're growing up as kids to what we're watching on telly, and we want to be like those and that, but a bit more fantasy. But the reality is, for role models, it will be the ones that are in your neighborhood that you see probably at moments during growing up and what it means to you at that time and why it is that I believe that you've got to idolize, and there's going to be heroes around when you're growing up, right? But first things first, that comment yesterday, Carol rightly comes in and says, but hold on a minute, he was only 6 years old. But there's nothing wrong with idolising people. I know it could lead some of us on the wrong path, but this is not what I'm talking about this morning now. For those given moments when I was a child, and probably most men and ladies, if someone steps in for you when you're a little kid and you was weak and vulnerable and you was about to cry because you remember you can't really stick up, you don't know the difference at that time to how to stick up for yourself, how to come across, you get frightened. And if someone sticks up for you at that moment in time, you will hero worship them because it feels like they've been rescued. It feels like they was in a bit of trouble and that someone older and stronger had to step in for them. So you're only as good as those that you got around you, right? I'm not going to go into my stuff too much this morning, but in reality, the only role models that I ever saw, because I wasn't out long enough to see all walks of life of people, and not just hard men and bad men. I didn't get to see all that because when you're in there, you can only see, if you stay in there too long, it's going to be all that you know, right? So Paul Venice would probably have looked up whether it made him into a fighting man. Many people would have love for Lee Duffy because of what they saw when they were growing up. He was a figure that they maybe wanted to aspire to be like. Man, morning, Mom. You all right, darling? Yeah. So it would always be that way for children. All right, when I used to watch Clint Eastwood, when he used to pull the cape back with a cigar in his mouth, I said, God, I loved it. I used to go in front of the mirror and do that. When Elvis Presley used to dance, and he had all that charisma and character and a look, different kind of people that you get enjoyment from watching. The difference, obviously, is because it's on the telly, but girls will be the same, watching dancers, women everything want to be like them and acting and imitating as kids. But with Lenny Maclean, look, I'll just break these down here. Sorry for my bit. My brain's just starting to come back now. Lenny Maclean, from what I know, the only person that he ever idolised was Jimmy Spinks. Jimmy Spinks. And I think it might have been his uncle, right? So I think Lenny Maclean was a bit more unique. I'll get back into this in a minute with his own style of doing things, right? But when his stepfather used to abuse him and beat him up, one time Jimmy Spinks come round there and smashed him to smithereens. I think the straw that broke the camel's back is that the stepfather started hitting Lenny's little brother or cousin or something like that. And I think after that moment, I don't think the stepdad was ever seen again, which is these are what we call the real bullies. Another geezer comes up in the comments, I've got his name, Sensible Geezer. He rightly says to Jimmy White, yeah, but everyone that got knocked out by someone is going to call someone a bully. It's not good. Whether you say that he's a bully or you say another man would have beat him and all that. So what does it mean then? So you're thinking, you're still looking at someone who's harder that you think that could beat him up and he'd beat him up. But to reach the stage where he's at now, he was known for fighting as well. Let's not muddle this thing up this morning, right? tonyA clinically points out that when he was a kid, he loved Build a Bomb. He probably liked the way, that Bill was and that, and he took some bits out of that, and maybe there's a part of him that's what you saw early on. Always respected Build a Bomb, right? Everyone falls out at some stage when you get older, when you start going through certain things and finding your own identity, to not just be like the ones that you aspire to be like with the hard man thing when you was younger. But with Lenny Maclean, a lot of the doormen, the young ones that worked with him, I told you that they went to school with me, some of them, and they say, Yami, when I used to watch him, he had the comedy, he had the character, he had the presence, of course, he had the look, the hard man image, and he would do the business. A lot of doormen, when they come in, they will look at Lenny and they will say, I like the way he did that. Because you're picking up skills from the teachers for that game. Because you could be a doorman, it's not. It could be just your name's not down, you're not coming in. But you know you're going to need a little bit more. You know, the communication skills, knowing the right time when to act, to respond. You know, to very dangerous situations or being on a door like that. For me, when I was growing up with the stealing side of things, when I started the delinquency early, when I used to come out in the estate, I used to watch all the older guys and watch them with the way they walk and the way they wear their shoes and the big chain and the way they come across. I more looked at the swagger, as well as their men being brave and hard too, bad men, and the way they deliver things on certain real serious moments. And when you're a kid thinking, wow, he just walked up to him and he said that and that and that. You pick up those little bits as boys when you're growing up, because you know that one of those days it looked good for him, the way he did it. He looked serious. Maybe I can do it that way. It might be a way out for me sometimes, but in reality, what it really means is that they were serious, and violence was about to take place. So many men find their own identity in the end because they've been out longer. Some just stay the same way as they always did. I thought Dave Courtney was unique as an entertainer and his character. I don't know who Dave Courtney would have looked up to, because he was very much his own personality. You know what I mean? I don't know enough about that for me to answer that bit this morning. But what I'm really saying is, for my case, I would say that I didn't have long enough out to see other people, all walks of life, the way that they do things. So I wouldn't have just looked at those bad men and the way that they carry themselves. I would have been able to find and feel different things. So with the idolizing and hero worshipping and blah, 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 it always boils down to, I believe, is what you saw from them when you were younger, that those feelings never leave you, especially if they were rescuers, especially if they never bullied you, especially if they played a part at a time when you was probably at your most vulnerable. It's very hard to forget things like that. And as I got older and they got older, many men, I got my own back on the way they made me feel when I was younger. But those, even if in later life, there was mixed feelings about, I would always look at the moments of how they made me feel, and I will give them that due respect for that moment there that they made me feel in childhood. I don't know whether it's the same for some of you lot, but in reality, I say, for the girls, boys, men thing, there would have always been a heroic figure and an idolization and a kind of hero that we all found at some stage in life. All right, see you all soon.